Here's some lawyer tips, suggestions for traveling in and around the United States government domestically and internationally. I'm going to add this onto category of content that I do on my channel. If you don't know, I'm JJ Legal. I monitor the lawsuits filed against the Trump administration. Those the Trump administration filed against others take you beyond the headlines to give you a sense of calm. But I realized that another added benefit I can use my legal background and knowledge to help people who are trying to navigate the Trump term. I do have a series of Know Your Rights cards that I offer for free in exchange for your email. So go to jjlegal.com if you want to get these tips actually in writing for you for free. So for those of you who prefer to listen and hear and take notes, here it is. Now, there are two different categories of people that I'm addressing. There's one category of people who attorneys who practice immigration law, the migrant and immigration organizations, associations recommending right now to just not travel. And then there's the other category of people I'm going to talk about in a second that what you should do as you travel. And before I talk about both of them, let me just quickly give you a quick little backdrop. The reason why we're here is because our government is funded from a budget that the Congress allocates budget for. And in the last year and the previous this year, we were stuck on funding for the Department of Homeland Security, which covers FEMA, which is the organization that helps when we have natural disasters, get aid to states and its residents of their states who are affected by natural disasters. The Transportation Security Administration, which is TSA, they're the ones when you travel to the airport, they help you safely get through your destination into your flight and off. And then you have the Custom and Border. They control the 100-mile perimeter around the United States and ports of entry. And then the Immigration Customs, they're doing immigrations in the interior to center people who are in the interior do not belong there. They go find them, targeted folks, and they remove them from the country if they're not supposed to be here. So that's what it is. So we are the Democrats, two-party system in the United States, have issue with the way that the Border Patrol and the ICE have been treating residents and citizens of the United States, ending in the deaths of some citizens, and then also the mistreatment of a lot of residents, people here who have status, the deporting and just manhandling babies and children and elderly people is just a hot mess, buying up detention centers, and it's a lot of waste, fraud, abuse. It's just a hot mess right now. We need reform. And ICE, some people are saying to fund ICE, break it down and build it from up. So there's a lot of contention right there. So to alleviate that, what was decided recently was, okay, we're going to let the rest of the government function. We're going to go ahead and fund, it's called a continuing resolution, fund the rest of the government, because we did have a big, beautiful bill, beautiful is in quotation, last fall, which actually provided the funding for DHS, for the border and the ICE. Now, the issue going forward is related to the way trying to tie reform in. And recently, the Democrats offered several resolutions. Say, okay, since our issue is with Border Patrol and ICE, how about we just fund TSA so travel can be cool and we just deal with the issues? Donald Trump said no. There was a reaction that was recently, they had reached an impasse. Republicans were cool with it. Democrats were cool. They met up and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Boom, 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 pet, 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 let's go. And Donald Trump called and said no because he won leverage. He's not a great businessman. You saw how his tariff policies went. It was just a mess. Anyway, so that's the backdrop. So that's where we here now. And because the TSA aren't getting paid, those folks need to make money. They got to pay their bills. So a lot of them are calling off. When they're calling off, they're doing Uber, they're doing Lyft, they're gigging, they're doing whatever they are. And so we have the backlog because not a lot of people here. So Donald Trump made the wisdom to say, okay, I'll just send the ICE agents, as if the training that ICE agents get is not similar to the training that you have at TSA. That's why you might have seen videos. I know I posted one of them milling around doing nothing. I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing nothing. At some point, that might get to Donald Trump and the higher ups. They might be like, okay, we need to start doing something. And they may start getting overly aggressive. Who the hell knows? So that's why. Now getting to the video, the meat and potatoes of it. That's why people are saying if you're in one of the following categories, if you can avoid traveling for at least for a little while until we figure things out, just don't travel. So that includes people who obviously, if you're not documented, either you came through the border somehow, snuck in, and have never you never met with anybody official, and so you're just living here under the shadows. Definitely don't travel. Then those of you who are, and I'm not supporting or endorsing anyone doing that. I'm just saying that you're here. So those folks are here is undoubtable. Then there are people who actually came with permission because you had a visa, perhaps a student visa, a tourist visa, a business visa, entertainment visa. We gave you permission to come here on a temporary basis, and then there was a deadline we were supposed to leave, and you just never left. So those of you who are out of status, don't travel. Now, if you're out of status and you've since applied for status, perhaps asylum application, you apply to be, perhaps adjust status because you got married or are engaged to a United States citizen while you're living here and you're in the middle of it, or somehow, some way you're having an application on interim status, or you are in a temporary status, meaning like you have a deferred, meaning like this. So we're going to allow you to stay here temporarily, and we're canceled. At some point, they canceled. If you don't know this, Christy Nome canceled all the temporary protective status of the 15 or so nations residents from nations that we invited to come here during times of turmoil in the country, perhaps like the earthquake in Haiti or the political warfare in Venezuela or gang violence in El Salvador or on Honduras. We allow people from those countries to come here and settle on a temporary basis until whatever turmoil, unrest, dismantling, or dishevelment of their country subsides, and then we decide you can go back. So Christy Nome has lifted the TPS status of every single one. So you guys, if you're in a TPS status, don't travel. If you're here in any other form of deferred action, including deferred action for children who came here along with their adults when they were babies, don't travel, because we know that last December there was a young girl, I can't remember her name, but she was a Babson college student and she was traveling domestically. And because she's a DACA, they end up transporting her to Texas and eventually deporting her. So don't travel. If you are a temporary or green card holder, I'm sorry to say, if you have any sort of criminal background or criminal history, even if it was civil, even if it was a misdemeanor, even if it got charges dismissed, we've seen, those of us who watch the dockets, we've seen so many cases when they've used things that aren't even relevant who were dismissed as an excuse to detain people. You do not want to be detained. So even if you're a green card holder, if you're a permanent resident holder, if you're a temporary resident holder, if your visa is active, but you have something where you, even a parking ticket, it's so tenuous. If you can avoid it, don't travel. That's it. So that's a category. Then you have the U.S. citizens, permanent green card holders, or temporary residents, or even visas with active visas with nothing. When you a clean record, no criminal history, no nothing, and you're clean, and there's nothing they can track on you. All right, you guys can travel, but take all your documents. Even if you're a citizen, take a copy of your passport and your birth certificate. If you have any paper, transcribe it out. I'm gonna tell you the reason why you need a paper version and keep that with you. You can even shrink it down and put it in a card for it and keep it in your wallet so you can hand it out and show it to someone. All right. So those what I recommend for those of you. And if you have a green card, don't ever give up your actual green card. Get a copy of it and send it to them. Temporary, your visa, anything you have, paper copy. Why paper copy? Is because coming into the border, depending on who you are coming in internationally, these are for the international travelers now. Coming in internationally, we have to go to customs and border. They have the right to ask anyone questions, and you can't not ask them questions. Now, they can't stop you if you're a U.S. citizen from coming in the country. What if you don't answer questions or don't give them access to your phone, for example, that would delay you, but they can't stop you from coming in once they determine you're a U.S. citizen. It's just delay. And they can take your phone if they have some reason to believe this administration is crazy. They have some reason to believe there's something in your phone that implicates you somehow. And we've seen it happen to U.S. citizens before. I didn't think that would, but they have. So they can't actually go in your phone if you have your face. So unlock your face recognition thing. Like when you're coming in to the United States traveling, take off the facial recognition app temporarily, because all they have to do is hold the phone up to your face. Once they get in, they can get in, but they can't force you to give the code. And now if you're a U.S. citizen, they could seize your phone and get in it, but they'd have to get a search warrant. They have to go judicially thing. So immediately they can't get in your phone immediately once it's locked. So the other thing, some people travel with burner phones. You could do that. Some people put their phones that have all their data inside their bags. You can do that. Some people just offload cloud, so they can't force you to download the stuff to the cloud. Update all your apps, put it all into the cloud, empty, delete all your social medias off the app, upload everything to the cloud, so it's just bare bones. And your text messages, upload all the text messages so they can't text see you. And ideally you use Signal or use some sort of disappearing app so you have a clean phone. So even if somehow they manage or force you, or you say, sure, go in my phone, it'll be nothing there to implicate you, because we've seen people get sent back. Now, here's the thing. If you come to the United States and you are anything but the United States permanent, even if you're a permanent resident, they can potentially actually hold you. There's a process for that, but they could possibly stop you from coming in. Now, everyone else, whether if you're a visa holder or what's the other thing, or a temporary resident, they can stop you from coming in the country from based on what you have on your phone or for whatever reason. It is what it is. Sorry to say, it's a different time, a different era. So just be mindful of those things. Now, how can you protect yourself? Here's what you can do for those of you who have children. So it's a little bit extra thing because you've seen when they have actually detained and deported mothers and fathers and their children are US citizens. You've seen, so here's you have children, your rules a little bit different. And we've seen I saw a report that says there were 110,000 parents of US citizen children.
Also, learning more about the rates at which the Trump administration is detaining undocumented parents of children who are U.S. citizens. ProPublica found that in the first 7 months of President Trump's second term, the administration detained the parents of more than 11,000 U.S. citizens. That's an average of more than 50 kids a day having a parent pulled into detention. ProPublica used data from the University of Washington Center for Human Rights as part of a public records lawsuit. And the piece highlights one family, parents Doris Flores and Edulio Velasquez, who were taken from their daughters, an 8-year-old and a 4-month-old who was still breastfeeding. And Doris left them in the hands of her pastor and his wife. Current and former officials from DHS told ProPublica that these types of separations are not a violation of policy, noting guidelines on officer discretion have changed. DHS also told ProPublica that it does not separate families.
That this administration deported. And I also saw a report that says that they actually changed the rules and guidance regarding like manhandling people.
Micah's piece also points out that the Trump administration officials had revised a document advising how ICE officers should interact with these families, and specifically the parents, removing the word humane.
Teaching them humane. Like they said, no, we want to be inhumane. We want to violate the Geneva Convention against torture. We want to violate international laws of engagement because that's what they've been doing. This regime is very rogue. It's very illegal, unlawful, inhumane, dehumanizing. And the people who are part of it, I don't know why they would think they would get away with it because Donald Trump's people who enabled him last term, they went to jail. They didn't get away with it. So for those folks who saw those other people went to jail and get held accountable to come back and help him, enable him be an even more cruel and even more psychotic, sociopathic, inhumane, brutal, racist, sexist, xenophobic piece of S of American administration and think that they are not going to get held accountable is bizarre to me. So they're all just either cultists, they sold out their souls for power. Who the hell knows? Anyway, you have child. Here's what different thing you need to do if you have kids. You need to get the following things. You need to get either a limited power of attorney or general power of attorney document or some other sort of legal document giving the assigning someone else the rights to care for your kids, even on a limited basis, which includes you may have to have a HIPAA form, which is a health form, so that if you take a child is sick or something like that, the hospital workers know it's okay to release the child's information about testings to you because you're not the natural parent and the parent is away. So those are two things you need to get a minimum because I just did a report. Again, I'm JJ Legal. I'm in the dockets of a set of twins, 12-year-olds, who the mother was being deported back to her native Honduras. And she had told the ICE because they give you an option. If you want your children to go with you, they will let you take your kids. But if you want your kids to stay, you have to have already arranged for someone here to keep your kids here. And the woman had arranged for, I think, her spouse or the children's father to keep their children, and it got miscommunicated. It wasn't all clear, and they deported their kids anyway. Those kids have just been ordered back, and so there's been lots of incidences of things like that where they've deported U.S. citizen kids, including elder sick ones. So that is why it's very, very important you get this document. Now, here's the thing: you can find that document online free else anywhere, and you can find YouTube tutorials or tutorials to show you what you need to go. And ideally, because it's a legal document you really don't want to mess up, it's probably good to have some legal counsel. So my friend works at a self-help desk at a courthouse, and they're usually kind people and they're not gonna like snitch on you, whatever like that. So go to those self-help desks, and she says the number one thing that people come to her and her office for is to help with filling out and completing a temporary limited or general power of attorney. She said the people what people come for them for is limited power of attorneys or general power of attorneys. So go there if you need help. Alternatively, again, like I said, you can get this free off the internet. If you don't have any funds, that's fine. But you do need to be careful that different states, it won't count unless you follow all the rules, and different states have different standards. Some states require you to actually submit the power of attorney. There's an office that you need to submit them to in order for it to be effectuated or in order for them to recognize it. Other states may say you just need to have it notarized. And nowadays we have virtual notaries, so you don't even have to have the person who you're leaving your children in care of to be in the same room as you when you sign the signature for the notary. Then there's other places that say you just need a witness. So I don't know what it is for your state. So what I do, and this video is sponsored by U.S. Legal. U.S. Legal has thousands of forms and documents that you can just get. You get a free trial. Download all of the forms that you need specific for your state, and then you can tweak them and adjust them and fill them in, and then you're good to go. And then that's one option. I used it to create some forms for my family. At some point during my content creator journey, when I shared the video about that, some folks who follow me asked for a copy of it. They said, "Oh, we would love to buy that from you." So I made that one of the offerings of things I offer to sell. And if you go to jjlegal.com, you'll see where I can sell or I sell those templates for mixed family and for families that are just generally just not mixed status families. So you can get those. And I normally charge $97. The price, I believe, has been knocked down to $47 since last Christmas. And then I lifted it back up, and I just put it back down for a short period of time. So you want to go get that Easter sale as soon as you can to get it for $47. It's a great document because it doesn't only just have the limited power. There's about 12 other legal documents that you need, which is great. And I made it easy to follow language, to easy to read, easy to follow, really pretty simple stuff. So go get that document for you there for $47. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put it down a link below. If not, you could just go to jjlegal.com/legal, where you can get access to the U.S. legal form, or you can get access to my link to where you can purchase my templates, and you'll be good to go. But again, you don't need to pay for anything. You could just get it free off the internet and just adjust. But again, it's a risk. So those are things that you need to do in the immediate, especially if you have children, to protect them. And then after you get those documents, I recommend you, like I mentioned before, store it in the cloud so anyone can access it wherever. You can use Box. I use box.com. I know some folks use Google Drive, which I think it has a cost as well. I'll put a link down to Box. I'm an affiliate, and it's a pretty good price. You get lots and lots of storage. That's where I store all my Epstein files content. I do some Epstein related content as well on this channel. So get all of that information. Also store all of things, put it on cloud, and make sure that the person who you have assigned has access to it. So be careful, because I know it's easy sometimes. You create a document and then you lock it up and forget it's locked up. Make sure it's unlocked, because otherwise the person won't be able to access it if you're in a detention center and you're the only person who have the code. So make sure it's unlocked and they have access to it on the cloud version. That's the best thing. And also, of course, print out a copy, put a copy in your safe, give them a copy as well. So you just never know, in case someone needs to go down there really, really fast and they have a phone or they don't have access to it, there's a paper copy at home, and send them a paper copy. So that's my recommendation for you. Again, if you're traveling, turn off your phone, keep copies of your documents, put your phone in your suitcase, or travel with a burner phone. Take off all your apps off, remove your facial recognition, and just be prepared for things, because we've seen cases where people got deported. People got deported who are U.S. citizen children along with their parents. We've seen folks get detained for long periods of time. Detention's not fun. Detention's not fun. I know somebody who's a U.S. citizen who got detained because of content on her phone. Oh my God, it's bizarre. But she was born here in the United States, from my country, Sierra Leone, and she was detained for a long period of time. So yeah, and those of you who are advocates, who do things like I do, you should try your best to keep all your information on Signal, on disappearing apps if possible. And, there's other tools that I'm going to get into because I'm an expertise. But anyway, if you like this sort of content, let me know. What I normally do is share congressional oversight or congressional hearings and confirmation hearings so you can see your representatives and your senators in action. I also share 101s. I guess this would be part of the legal 101s here.
Development. As a matter of fact, in your one-page you also have stated promoting economic growth and economic security is e-business, financial institutions, so forth and so forth. Nationwide, CDFIs finance more than 45,000 affordable homes. However, Applications for CDFI's fund programs have been pending for almost 12 months or more, and except for some CDFI funds for administrative costs, none of the FY '25 program funds have been utilized to ensure that they were in compliance with the executive orders issued by, so they can continue to finance affordable housing projects. That's a yes or no. If yes, when? If no, why not? Or no.
Outstanding program awards.
Mr. Secretary.
Get issue as late
No,
as possible.
I'm going to abide by the chair.
I also share just commentary on my kitchen podcast and then legal updates on cases. So you get case updates, commentary. When this is new, know your rights 101s. Actually, I've done 101s, but this I haven't really done long 101s. This is my first legal 101 that's more lengthy. So I think I'll start that, and let me know if you want to see these legal 101s longer. I can expand to do that as well if you find it is helpful. And then updates, yeah, just to keep us informed, edified, enriched, empowered, engaged, interested, connected. So, all right, JJ, look at each one, teach one. Share this video so more people know. And I have another video in the series. I'll create this Know Your Rights series. And this is the first video in the Know Your Rights series. All right, let me know what you think about it. JJ, look at each one, teach one. Share this video so more people know. And I'll put these other videos in this series in a playlist that you can see here. So I'll make sure I'll put the playlist here when I publish this video. So if you see this after, because this is the first one, it's not going to be populated right now, but it populated later. At some point, it'll be populated and you'll find it here.